if Ranboo gets revived and gets revived incorrectly, like another Enderman, I might have just gotten another theory. I might have just thought of another theory, guys. Before we get into the video, this was actually recorded live on my Twitch. If you're not following me already, twitch.tv/mayday17. I do a lot of fun stuff over there. It would be really awesome if you followed. And I have a special little announcement about it towards the end of the video, so stick around. Also, if you're not already, maybe consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. Alright, now let's get into the video. Guys, just for a second, can we just all agree? It has been too long since we have had some Ranboo lore on this little here SMP, okay? And you know, I don't know about you, but I am so happy that we finally got some, and especially I'm happy because I called it. I called it. I called the lore. I called what happened. Basically, if you don't know, let's get this going. About, I don't know, however long ago, couple months ago, I put out this video. Why Ranboo's Limbo is the Dream SMP. All right, 3 months ago now. So it was around the time that he first died, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, now that he's dead, we gotta figure out what his limbo is, right?" And if you don't know, did pretty well. It's my best performing video ever, so thank you for that. And essentially, my theory about it just got confirmed, which, like, not too shabby. So we're gonna talk about that today. Yeah, so essentially what I thought was today, we would go through my script, because I have a script for these videos that I write. Look, here it is, it's beautiful. We're gonna go through my script, and we're gonna see how correct I was with the lore that he just did yesterday, specifically talking about his limbo, because I'm 90% sure that I called it, and I am so confident in that I did not prepare and put down like plot points or anything for going through this. So let's get into it, shall we? First off, we have the nice little intro. Let's see. We weren't given any context about his deaths. All we know is that he died, and these events have spurred massive speculation over the likes of his afterlife. Specifically, a clip that resurfaced of Wilbur talking about everyone's version of Limbo. So what we've learned from that is, Ranboo's original plan was to have some angst. The other thing we learned about a month or so after he died, that he was supposed to be revived right away. So his original plans for, I'm assuming what his limbo originally was, probably changed with the fact that, like, no lore happened with this character for the next 3-ish months. By the way, I'm not going to watch the full video that I did. If you want to go watch it, I highly recommend it. I'm pretty proud of it, especially now that I know I called it. Yeah, but anyway, I recommend you go watch the video for the full context. Under that video, comments had essentially these same theories again. It's his panic room surrounded by water. However, if you rewatch that clip, Vilza's reaction were 3 different, like, man. So it's not like a base level limbo of just like a train station or the void or something like that, you know? It's gotta be something that makes you think, and the more you think about it, the more upset you get. It's just him continuing to exist on the SMP. That was my theory. My theory was that Ranboo's Limbo, the most twisted limbo that he could get, was a version of Limbo that was literally just the life he'd been living this entire time. Now, if you've looked at his lore from, like, yesterday, I don't think it's that far off. Okay, I just want to say, first off, real quick, this, to me now, is amazing. I was at 90 subscribers right before I put this video out, and, like, a month later, I hit 1,000. So this video did a lot for me, and I'm really thankful for that. So thank you guys. To those of you who have actually watched the video originally and subscribed because of it and have stuck around this entire time, I am currently at 1.2k subs right now, and it's crazy to me because I didn't think I would get this far by now. So yeah, just thank you for that. All right, let's see. Ranboo's character. Yes, so here's the thing I wanted to point out. From his very first day on the server, Ranboo has been brought into multiple conflicts causing him pain and suffering. That's a key point to remember, because if we look at his lore from yesterday, he talked about something when it comes to forming a ghost, your mind and your soul split. Essentially, his mind is what's currently existing as a ghost on the Dream SMP, right? He's experiencing everything, but he's not feeling the effects of it. Where his soul is essentially in just a place somewhere, which he hasn't described, but I'm assuming it's just like a hole somewhere. But he's feeling the repercussions of all of the things he's experienced, and if you feel something, it's kind of like you're experiencing it yourself, so he's just experiencing everything again. And Ranboo, throughout the server, has constantly been suffering and experiencing anxiety and things of that nature. When you look at Ghostboo, it was the exact opposite, because he didn't feel a thing, which makes sense when you look at the mind and soul thing. Since then, much of his lore has been centered around what happens in his head and how he feels about it. That's essentially what his limbo is. What happens in his head versus how he feels about it. Because the whole point is that he doesn't want to experience things that cause him pain, because then he has to feel it, and the whole point is the more he feels, the more he fades away, I believe, is the thing. So as long as you don't feel anything, you don't fade away. This is essentially what Ranboo's doing. Do you see? Do you see? This is just going to be a repeating theme. Just like, do you get it? Do you get it? His few moments of happiness on the server are with those he holds closest, Tubbo and Michael. Currently, we know that the only time he's ever left the mansion is to go visit Michael. And so the only thing he does, because he doesn't want to feel pain in order to fade away, is go visit Michael. So this checks. Ghostboo versus Ranboo. When a ghost character enters the Dream SMP, they are a shell of their past life. The mind and soul are split. The mind is only part of the person. The soul is only part of the person. Therefore, a ghost version is only part of the person. That checks. At the same time, they are able to grow just as any other characters would, but they grow to a point. This also checks, because the mind can't feel anything, the mind is just a baseline. So they can necessarily grow and form opinions about things, like, Ghostboo Ran becoming friends with Amesy, but they don't really feel anything necessarily, and so that's the reason that they're split still. They can't grow. It makes sense. All right. This part is what sold me on the fact that I called this, okay? When Ghostboo first showed up, he was just chill. No feelings, no anxiousness, no paranoia, nothing. We now have the context that because it was only the mind of Ranboo, he wouldn't have to have those feelings because they don't exist for the mind. Like, that's stuck with the soul, right? And he wanted to stay dead because he thought that him not experiencing those emotions or anything was better. It was better than what he had before. It was better than his life on the SMP where he was feeling everything. So he thought he would prefer being dead because he wasn't experiencing all of those emotions. But he then found out, as we have learned from his notebook in which he's communicating with his soul other half, Boo? Are we just going to call him Boo? Ron and Boo? Ron and Boo, sure. When Ron was communicating with Boo through the book, Ron realized that Boo was experiencing all of the emotions. And no, technically the mind can't feel anything, but probably he started feeling bad, which is why he stopped putting himself in that way, which is why after the first or so stream with like Tommy right after he died or things like that, he just disappeared and wasn't in anybody's lore and just stayed in the mansion. And we have learned that the reason he just stayed in the mansion is because his limbo is just him existing on the SMP. The Ranboo in limbo is the one we've known to grow and love. It's the same guy. He has said that the mind and soul are split. So it's the same guy. It's the same character. He's just split a little bit. And since they can communicate with one another, they have the context for each other to still essentially remain whole without remaining whole, which is kind of funky. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. When we look at prior mentions of limbo, they're about mental pain over physical. Tommy's limbo is of black void of nothingness, and Wilbur's is a train station waiting for a train that would never come. We can, based on from these other two, we can rule out that Ranboo uses physical pain in his limbo. Not true. Anything to do with water or repeatedly dying, we can also rule out his panic room. As though it was a place he suffered a lot of mental anguish, he did so willingly. And that's the thing with limbos, is they are an involuntary sort of suffering. I mean, did Tommy want to die? No. And so for Ranboo, with the panic room, yes, he was feeling all of the paranoia and anxiousness, but as I said, it was his safe space to freak out. So it wouldn't make sense that he would have his limbo be in a place that he saw as a safe space to freak out and feel pain so that way he could gather himself and feel better afterwards. It also wouldn't make sense that he would have a place of physical pain, repeatedly dying over and over again. Instead, look at what caused him to seek a safe place. What caused him the mental anguish. It was his interaction with other people on the SMP. That was the world he was experiencing. That was the reason he was anxious. It was him being forced to pick a side by the people he loved the most when he was saying choose people, not sides. So that causes him the mental anguish. And that is why Ghostboo, or Ran, is purposely trying to avoid the pain and suffering, because he's been through that. He knows what that's like. It's being alive, and he doesn't want anybody else to go through that, which is why he was always choosing people and not picking sides and getting involved and things like that. So he's continuing to live his life on the Dream SMP right now. Just Ranboo living to continuing to live his life, but with no happy thoughts and no memories. Ranboo, the content creator, said that his death has been planned for a long time and he's using it as a sort of reset for his character. So his death, he could essentially come back and everything could have been different for him. Now, if you were to take that into this context, him not being revived right away like he was supposed to be, he can use that as a new way of storytelling. And when he finally gets revived and has all of these memories of nobody coming to see him or treating him differently because he was a ghost, or not trying to revive him right away, though we know that, some people have been on the side, whatever. He can use this as a sort of villain arc, potentially, or just like a way to restart his character and reassess his values and relook at that. Like, it makes sense. This is the part of the theory that gets like a little twisted, because at this point I speculate whether or not it's just like an alternate version of the SMP, and so when he comes back he has to deal with the fact that everything's changed. And this was before I realized that the Ranboo and Limbo had the same emotions as the Ghostboo version. So this is the only part that I will admit that I didn't get fully correct. It's kind of like just a little bit to the right of it, of what happened. So in it, I'm basically saying like, oh, this could be him playing it off as a hallucination when he gets revived, right? Like, he might not believe it right away or things. And then once people start asking questions about his limbo, the other members have to cope with the fact that it was just his life, which, to be fair, could still very much happen, because when talking to Amesy, he's explaining all of this stuff and they are just sitting there just like silently just taking it all in and being like, whoa, that's creepy, like, whew. And this would totally align with it being the most upsetting, because if everybody found out that Ranboo's limbo was just him feeling the pain of continuing to exist on the SMP, they'd be like, oh, it was really that bad for you, huh? And everybody in the chat, as I watched yesterday and agreed with them completely, him just feeling the pain of everything that he's experiencing as Ghostboo just broke people. People were like, holy cow. And I say, how much would it hurt fans to realize that Ranboo, their beloved, has been suffering even more than they thought, all while they were being entertained? Because, if we remember, particles are canon. The chat's canon. We have pushed him to go do things. There's been lore streams where it's just him talking with his chat or his particles. So we're there, and that's probably part of the reason why he's kept us away this whole time, when you think about it. Because he's talked about how he's not supposed to feel anything, and his particles probably push him to feel things. As in, why don't you go see Michael? Which is a good thing, but why don't you go talk to Tubbo? Why don't you go visit Foolish? Why don't you go see Filza? Why don't you go talk to Wilbur? Things of that nature. And it adds a lot of new avenues for him to take his story. This is true, because if he comes back and he remembers all of these experiences of how nobody came to see him, it's a really good storytelling avenue. However, I would like to once again point out, he originally was going to be revived way earlier. He has confirmed this, which means this all wasn't probably his original plan. The whole mind and soul thing, because Ghostboo was only going to be around for a little bit, and honestly, it wouldn't have surprised me if he was being revived, begging not to be revived at that point. If you think about it, from the way he was acting at the get-go, if he hadn't figured out the other half, the soul, was experiencing anything at that point, it would have been a very traumatizing lore stream to have him begging not to come back to life, as everyone else is like, no, we need our Ranboo back. Especially Tommy, who was dead and freaked out from it. They're going to be like, no, we're bringing you back. And then he's going to beg them not to. And how traumatizing is that for everybody? Holy cow. I just spoke that into the world. Sorry about that. So because he had to wait, he had to reassess his plotline. The only other thing that I thought was, okay, so Ranboo's limbo was essentially split in two, because you have Boo, who's experiencing everything, or Ran, who's experiencing everything, and then Boo, who's the soul, who I'm guessing exists in the starting soon screen that we saw. But it's still just him feeling all of his emotions, right? Like, the context of it makes sense. And yeah, I don't know. I was just really excited because I'm like 90% sure that I called this. Matt Pat, if you're watching this from Game Theorists, you should hire me because my just a theory, a lore theory, called it. It was right. Hire me, Matt Pat. I'm great. That's all from me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that. I was pretty proud of it. Yeah, I called that. Ranboo? You got me, fam. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please go watch the original video that I did. I was really proud of it. I worked really hard on it. Oh! I have officially planned out all of my videos through the month of May. So for all of May, I am streaming every single day. I don't know how long every single day, but it will be every single day because I am Mayday, and the month of May is my month. So we are doing Maydays, and I will be putting out 2 videos a week. I have already started working on them. I've got a lot of video recording to do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!